Okay. Stefan, why don't you go ahead and try unmuting yourself then?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
We can, loud and clear.
Okay. Sorry, I don't have a lot of trust in Cox Cable the last month. For some reason, my connection has been going in and out, and I have the fastest speeds, supposedly. Okay, I have a short presentation. Did you get the picture I emailed to you, Andrea? Would you want to put that up just to give a visual? Okay, great. Thank you, Andrea, so much for giving us the opportunity to speak about a proposal to bring a much-needed pickleball facility to Ocean Beach. I am Stefan Boyland, and my partner's name is Mike Shinzaki. Mike and I are both professional touring pickleball players and ambassadors for a sport we love, and a sport we hope to bring to Robb Field and share with all of you soon. We are proposing to repurpose the 12 largely unused tennis courts at Robb Field into 36 premium pickleball courts for the benefit and enjoyment of the public. We would manage the facility to offer the most fun and competitive games possible and offer special programs for underprivileged youths, disabled persons, veterans, and our senior community. Pickleball is a fun, social, and friendly game. The rules are simple, and the game is easy for beginners to learn, but can develop into a quick, fast-paced, competitive game for experienced players. The learning curve is 10 times faster than tennis. It's also expensive to play. Pickleball is a mix of tennis, badminton, and ping pong. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the United States with over 4 million players and 15,000 courts. Yet here in San Diego, we don't have one dedicated pickleball court at our public parks. Most local players travel to Encinitas, Carlsbad, and Oceanside just to play. But we can change all of that by offering pickleball right here at Robb Field. We would fund the entire project, including upkeep of the courts, which will require regular maintenance. Our contribution also includes the labor required to manage the facility, ensuring everyone can fairly access courts and play fun and competitive games. And if 36 courts are not enough, we can even do more, but let's start here. Tennis at Robb Field is vastly underutilized. On most days, you can find 10 empty courts out of the 12 available for play, while pickleball courts in North County are packed to the hilt at all times of the day and the evening. The main concern is displacing 150 current Robb Field tennis players. Our solution is to have them play directly across the street at another underutilized public facility called Barnes Tennis Center for the same cost. The club is beautiful. They have 25 state-of-the-art tennis courts, and on most days, 20 courts are free. Barnes can more than accommodate the players at Robb Field, and if necessary, we would even be happy to subsidize any additional cost to make the transition even easier. Pickleball is a whole lot more friendly and community-based sport than tennis. Ocean Beach is an active social neighborhood, and its residents would greatly benefit from a pickleball facility. Pickleball is Ocean Beach. So to summarize, our plan includes converting 12 tennis courts to 36 pickleball courts, beautify the surrounding area, and add a new clubhouse to replace the rundown one that is currently there now. We propose to add more and better bathrooms, everything new, everything funded by us, a revitalized Robb Field. For more information, you can contact us at my email address, which is sboyland@mac.com, or you can call us at the mobile number is 212-706-9980. Thank you very much for letting us speak. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Sorry, thanks for keeping it brief, right under the allotted time for public comments. Thank you. Does anyone else?
I do have a quick question. Stefan, I'm not sure if you would have the answer to this or anyone else at the board. You mentioned the Barnes Tennis Center might be a better place for the tennis courts. Is there a membership fee or any other fees associated with the Barnes Tennis Center? And how would that affect our community members who are looking to play some tennis?
A couple of things. I work at the Barnes Tennis Center now several days a week with my partner. So every day that we go there, we see 20 courts out of the 25 not being utilized. In fact, today, when we left the place, not one court was being used for tennis. It's a city-owned property. They have the same day cost as Robb Field Tennis, the Peninsula Tennis Club. So it's the same amount of money. The membership fee, the annual membership fee is slightly higher. It's about $2 more per week. If it was an issue to those 150 members and the city wanted us to, we would help those 150 members the first year and pay that difference just to help them transition. Barnes Tennis Center also put in $5 million. So the courts are much nicer. It's beautiful. I don't know if you've been there. Twice a year, I think, or 3 times a year, they have a big tennis tournament. And this past week was their big tennis tournament, and 800 people were playing there. So people from all over the country play there a couple of times a year, but for 50 weeks a year, it's practically empty. So we feel like there's so many tennis courts in such a small area. We don't need that many. It would be great to have tennis at Barnes Tennis Center and a dedicated pickleball facility for the 3,000 people that want to play pickleball in the community that are on our email list. So I hope that answers your question.
It does, thanks. And I do have a follow-up question. Have you reached out to the Mission Bay Parks Council about your plan yet?
I tried to, but I couldn't get the names of any of the people there. We have reached out to the San Diego Parks and Rec Department, including Andy Fields, and spoke to some people over there. But supposedly the 15 board members at Mission Bay, I don't know how to get in touch with them. And this is my first rodeo with government, trying to navigate who to speak to. We did speak to the Robb Field, someone at Robb Field on their advisory committee, and that one person was not very receptive, but so far everyone else has been very receptive.
Thank you, Stephen. Stefan, again, if you could pop your email or anything in the chat so people can get in touch with you, and if they're interested, help out any way they can. Kevin, or I should ask one last, do we have any non-board public comments?
I'd like to make a statement here, actually, if I
Thank
could.
you.
This is Richard.
Yep.
Nicole and all the Parks Committee members, that's a fantastic presentation. It really shows a lot of good work and effort. But as far as Robb Field goes and Dusty Rhodes Park, we don't control that whatsoever. We can sit here and talk about all these things that we'd like to do, and it's wonderful. And this goes to you as well, Stefan, that if we don't control the funding for this, then it's a wish list. So I would think that what we would want to do to represent all of Ocean Beach is we should try to take control back of Robb Field and Dusty Rhodes Park some way. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Richard. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry,
and if I could just speak to that, of course, we're aware that, these parks don't fall under the Ocean Beach jurisdiction so much, but some of the accessibility issues in those parks, I think, should definitely be a priority for the city to address. And so certainly we'll be reaching out to the Mission Bay Parks Council to ask them to make some of these improvements, especially concerning the accessibility issues.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As you said, it is a wish list, and we're just trying to be proactive and bringing the community's request to these public spaces to the decision makers there.
Thank you. Kevin?
was trying to see if Teddy was still here, but I don't see him. With regard to Richard's comment, we don't have control over anything in Ocean Beach. We've been advocating for Robb Field and some of these other parks connected to Ocean Beach for 20 years, or probably as long as the board's been in existence. So we absolutely should keep doing that. They are neighborhood parks to Ocean Beach. They are, regional parks everywhere else. I think under the new park master plan, this is very relevant to Ocean Beach, especially because they're trying to focus on those neighborhood parks, the close by walkable parks. So let's not hold back. I would say with regard to those parks and also Collier Park, because they're not in our jurisdiction, I would hesitate to publish or move anything from the board until we have really properly dealt with these other organizations. And I don't really give a crap about the Mission Bay Park Committee. There's no residents in Mission Bay Park. Well, there is, but there's no residents in Mission Bay Park that are these. This is a committee that's basically a city committee. So we are the best advocates for those parks. However, they do have rec councils, as previously mentioned, and we do need to really, I think, especially with Robb Field, I don't think that outreach has not been done. So I think that really needs to be done, and Dusty Roads Park Council as well. I know we have talked to a couple of the members, but I think there's some stuff that's maybe being left out. So I think on those two parks, and then Collier Park is actually in Peninsula planning area, even though it's connected to OB, it's, on this side of Nimitz. So it's very much an OB park as well. I don't feel comfortable moving ahead on those until we've really included those guys more. Regarding the specifics on the parks, there was a talk about art discussion. One of the things that was brought up was the potential for like a graffiti wall near the skate park in Robb Field. That didn't really make it into the presentation. And I think a lot of people are probably not quite sure how that might work, or if it would work, or if it would promote, bad behavior elsewhere in OB. But that's something that just to keep on your in your mind. The other thing is some of the items on this have been in the OB community plan for a long time. I guess that plan's only been around for 5 or 6 years now. And including some of the stuff in, Dusty Roads, for example, that's in the OB plan. There's some other things in there that are not in this presentation that are in the OB plan. There was some talk about a bridge connecting Dusty Roads to Robb Field. That's an example of something that's in the OB plan. That's a little bit probably expensive and far-fetched, but I don't know if we should try to incorporate those things for the sake of continuity. A lot of great minds went into some of these ideas, and I'd like to just add on to it. I don't want to be perceived from the city as sort of scatterbrained and Johnny come lately coming up with something totally different. So we can certainly, I think, build on that. Dusty Roads specifically, the field was brought up. I wasn't really clear that was supposed to be a permanent installation during the park committee. And irregardless of whether it would even be allowed or not, I feel like lighting for a field there it's just right behind those homes. It seems like a sort of an inappropriate place. I mean, we do have a lot of sports activities, organized stuff going on at Robb Field. That seems like the more appropriate place for that. And I understand they've been using lights with generators, but maybe there's room over there for a dedicated, soccer type field. Right now, I think the only dedicated fields are for baseball and, of course, tennis. And speaking of tennis, the pickleball thing sounds intriguing to me. I feel like taking over the entire thing it's a little it's a little bit much. People are kind of hesitant against change. I wonder if they would consider, taking over, say, half of that, and sort of transitioning it and see how it goes. Going from nothing to 36 courts. I don't know how many courts are really needed. I'm happy to hear that they're willing to fund the work. That's always been an obstacle, funding these kind of projects. What else? I have a couple other things. The other areas outside of OB, like the river path, OB's community plan refers to some of these things, and we've advocated for stuff in the past. We shouldn't hold ourselves back to just what's within our boundary. I mean, hell, Dog Beach is not even within our boundary, if you want to get specific. So these are all OB parks. They're used by OBians regularly. So let's, the more the merrier. The Parks Committee also, I think we kind of highlighted Ebers Park, and I want to say the Spray Street Park as priorities.
And Saratoga.
Saratoga Beach Park. The issue I have now is the Mission Bay Park Committee just met and presented their quarterly report, and Rob Field and Dusty Rhodes currently have CIPs in process, and they're now in the design phase already for restrooms, parking lots. There's a couple other things. Comfort station, playground at Dusty Rhodes is in there. There's a CIP for that. The rec center at Rob Field, I don't even know which building the rec center at Rob Field is included. Turf and irrigation improvements. So I feel like we really need to get out in front on those things. They're already in process, and if we can get some of these things included, that would be fantastic. I would advocate, for example, why are we repaving the parking lots at Dusty Rhodes when they're not even large enough? I was just out there yesterday, and there was 15 cars parked in the dirt and the grass because the lot's too small on the large dog park side. So, that's an example of something that should be incorporated in this design process. And speaking of that process, I've listened to our former board member, Dan Dennison, go on and on about the city, how they don't include anyone and they don't maintain stuff. And he's, that's part of the reason he left the board, is just out of frustration. But I guess I have a question for Virginia, if she happens to know. The Mission Bay Park Committee votes on this stuff, and they vote on funding allocation for this stuff, and they meet with the park and rec directors. At what point does this even go to the Dusty Rhodes Rec Council? I mean, did they come to you guys and say, hey, we want to do this, this, and this? Did they get your input? I don't understand this process. Do you know, Virginia?
Yes. No, they don't come to us. We're the little stepchild that doesn't get any attention. But the way we were able to arrange for the CIP projects is that we had some new board members who were quite ambitious and began going to all of the meetings over there and just lobbied for some funding for the improvements we've been wanting for so long, and was able to arrange for that. They approved the funding, so things are moving along.
Well, yeah, but they haven't approved anything at Dusty regarding the dog park, as far as I can tell. It's just repaving parking lots, rebuilding bathrooms, which is probably like for ADA, or they're doing all the bathrooms now with the unisex stalls. That's probably what's going in.
I think that they're probably going to address those issues first, any ADA issues, to avoid lawsuits, and put in that path from one parking lot to the other.
That's
Uh,
not in there either, though. So I don't want to, I mean, I don't see the design drawings. I'm just kind of looking at the CIP descriptions, but I feel like the Mission Bay Park Committee and or Park and Rec staff is leading these design scoping efforts when the community is being left out of that effort.
I'd agree with that.
They're required by law to seek community input from all rec councils and planning groups within a 300-foot radius of these. I mean, the Dusty Roads Committee is literally in the park, so it's just wild, the process here, and I don't know what we can do differently. Certainly, we need to advocate for this stuff at the Mission Bay Park Committee, but we also need to. It's like these other city projects. We're advocating for something, and they're going to be like, "Ah, we already got it in design. We're already trucking along. We're already halfway there."
Yeah.
So see you later. See you in 10 years.
It
It's
might
very
be, because I
frustrating.
do want to get back to the presentation, which did just focus on the 3 parks and comment, and then move forward with plans for that, because this is going to be a bigger discussion. I think maybe we should try, and Nicole, to maybe do a joint meeting between the Parks Ad Hoc Committee and Dusty Roads Park, and then come back and maybe co-sign a letter to Mission Bay Committee advocating for this. I think that would be a great next step to kind of assuage all the concerns that have been brought up here. But I do want to just focus on, the 3 parks, especially since we have concrete plans for some of them, and then move those forward and put a game plan in for the other few parks. Because I do agree, we want to be in contact with Point Loma, working with Collier, and then contact with them.
Can we vote on these?
Everyone?
We vote on these as separate items and how to proceed with them or tweak them, or do we send this to the city or to another committee like Point Loma?
Right. So I think, the best thing to do would be to just take the 3 parks and then vote on how to proceed, or just discuss how to proceed with the other parks that weren't focused on at the end of the presentation. So we were focusing, reminder, Spray Street, Saratoga, and Ebers Street Park.
Andrea, I put my hand up, and I just want to support
yeah.
something. That's okay. Something that Kevin said made a lot of sense, in that we have this really involved community plan. And so I think it makes 100% sense to have congruency between what's outlined in that plan as it relates to parks, represented in this new plan. So however that's possible, even if it's just starting with those 3 priority parks, I think let's make sure we've got things across the board that are saying the same things. So I just wanted to support that comment.
Sorry, I thought you just hadn't lowered your hand.
I'll lower it now.
Thanks, Chris. So, that would be, so moving forward, I guess what we want to see, and I think it would be a strong statement with a co-sign letter between us and the Dusty Road Park Committee moving forward on that and echoing that. And then, and then circling back to what we were talking about with Saratoga